bonkers out there. Like, what? What? I mean, how much do people have to fucking make to be able to afford a house?
Welcome back to Real Estate Mindset. Today's video is going to be absolutely bonkers. And I wanted to remind you guys, those of you who have been with me since the beginning, we have been the underdogs for the last 3 years. Society, media, sales associates have all been trying to bully us into locking ourselves into a 30-year debt. And if you chose to stay on the sidelines, I want to give you guys a lot of respect and tell you that you made the right decision. I warned you, if you don't agree with what I'm saying, at least wait for the dust to settle. And what do we see now that the dust has started to settle in the housing market? Well, a couple things that we see is mind-blowing buyer's remorse surveys. We see horrible, absolutely terrible, like illegal quality of construction problems. Again, we've never seen this before. We've never seen some of these HOA crises that we see right now, especially in Florida as it pertains to condos. We also now know that property taxes and homeowners insurance have absolutely skyrocketed. So in other words, if you're not using the math to find the deal, all that you did if you purchased a house in the last 3 years is you turned yourself into a glorified forever renter. In today's video, I'm going to go over Redfin's most recent housing market report. I'll end the video going into new construction data, and then we're going to listen to a few TikTok videos where we're going to give these people advice on, number one, not giving up, number two, using math because math matters, and number three, understanding that realtors and loan officers are just salespeople. Number four, understanding how a mortgage works. If you guys don't understand how a mortgage works and how an amortization schedule works, then you're just going to be swept in the wind and you're going to be trapped in forever debt, which is what a mortgage is. You guys, listen to me. You have to start paying attention to how they're charging you money and collecting their fees. And I'm going to try to help you guys understand all of these things right now. This week's Redfin housing market update report titled "Just 28% of homes are selling above asking price." That's the lowest springtime level since 2020. Typical sales price is nearly $30,000 lower than the typical list price, which means essentially, in so many words, people are decreasing their listing price by as much as $30,000 potentially on average. And we see historical price cuts as well. Now, when it comes to Redfin's Realtor or the Realtor Genius segment, let's see what their Realtor Genius comments are this week. It's still tough for many Americans to buy a home as affordability remains a real challenge, but house hunters should know that sellers are accepting offers below asking price and giving concessions to get deals done. That's good news. Buyers have negotiating power, especially if they're flexible on timing or location. And if they're willing to take on a fixer-upper, buyers should negotiate and be prepared to move on to other homes if the seller is unwilling to meet them halfway. They may be able to get a better deal elsewhere. You guys, that narrative that Redfin has been pushing for the last 3 years is over. They've been saying you got to just find a house you can afford, just settle in a house you can afford. They've never explained what affordability means, and they've never explained how real estate goes in a cycle. And we were at the peak of that cycle, and guess what? Now we're going down, you guys. Now, obviously, I always want you to understand the housing market is all about local data and local markets. It is incredibly bifurcated. But let's look at the leading indicators this week. Now, the daily average 30-year fixed rate mortgage is 6.89%. The weekly average is 6.85%. And that's down from an average of 7.17, a daily average, and a weekly average of 6.99%. So rates went down and there's no flood of buyers that came back into the market. Now, even though the housing market is an absolute dumpster fire right now, mortgage purchase applications are somehow, they're saying, up 20%. But I don't want you guys to hold your breath because that's just an application. Anybody literally can take 10 minutes right now to complete an application. That doesn't mean you found a house. That doesn't mean you went under escrow. And that definitely does not mean you closed. Now take a look at this, you guys. Redfin Home Buying Demand Index is finally reporting accurate information as it's suggesting that demand is actually down 3% year over year. So the realtors and associates that were hoping the housing market was going to come soaring back, You guys were wrong. And the reason why you were wrong is because you never wanted to talk about the prices of houses being way too high and unsustainable for normal Americans. It drives me absolutely crazy, you guys, but home buying demand down 3%. This week's winners and losers, starting with this week's winners, Detroit up 8.7%, so no double-digit increases anymore. New York up 5.7%, Pittsburgh 5.6%, Virginia Beach 5.3%, and Chicago 5.2%. That's what I'm saying. It's very bifurcated. So you have to do your research. You have to remember math matters. I will show you where to learn how to do that, and I promise to show you the solutions. But the losers, guys, and look at Oakland. Oakland is bleeding, you guys. And again, this is spring and summer right now. Oakland, number one, down 7.6% year over year. Holy smokes. Dallas down 4.9% year over year. Jacksonville, Florida down 3.9% year over year. Tampa, Florida down 2.4%. And San Diego finally in the mix, down 2.1% year over year. Now take a look at the new listings. These new listings, as long as they continue that surge, these markets right here are probably going to have a lot more softening up in the prices of houses. And number one on that list is Houston. And yes, we see year over year decline in Houston. So this makes sense. Houston up with new listings 15%. Columbus, Ohio, which is needed, up 12%. Boston 11.5%. Indianapolis, and again, this is new listings, up 11.4%, and Cincinnati up 10.6%. Now, as far as median sales price, and I've shown you guys several times how their methodology is off and ineffective, but they are showing that sales price, median sales price, is up 1.6%, and the trajectory is going up as well. Now, when it comes to median asking price, you guys can see that there's a massive gap between asking and selling. Home buying housing payments near historic highs, sitting at an average of $2,854. You guys, about 4 years ago, back in the beginning of 2022, the average mortgage payment was under $1,700. So people want us, okay, realtors want us to pay $1,200 more per month, and they expect us to be able to afford these prices. They're out of their minds. Take a look at active listings, you guys. We are well over 1 million now, sitting at 1.141 million active listings. And I could tell you guys, and I'll show you actually, in Houston, we have so many listings hitting the market. It's so crazy. So we have, again, active listings up. We have new listings up 5% year over year. We have supply up to 3.9 months. Demand hits historic lows. I guess there was no flood of buyers, huh? I want to play our first TikTok video of a young man who's 31 years old who has completely given up on the dream, the American dream of home ownership. So I want to listen to this video, and then we're going to give him some advice. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, the very second to last thing, okay? The last thing you want to do is buy a house with your emotions. The second last thing you want to do is give up. Listen to this video.
Yo, I'm never going to own a house. I just accepted it. It is what it is. I'm not going to have a home. I was back in New York talking to my pops. I say, yo, Pop, how much you pay for the house we grew up in Brooklyn? He bought the house in 96. And it's a decent house. It's not really big. It's whatever. It's like a middle class, like 2-story, you know what I'm saying? Whatever. House was $150K. Crazy, right? Now, here's the next part. I say, yo, how much you had to put down for the 150? They had a deal for like first-time homeowners in New York City in the 90s. 3% is what you had to put down. I'm like, trying to do the math. He just stopped me. He said, yo, $4,500. This man paid $4,500 for an entire home in 1996. Like, yeah, I'm not gonna own a home. Like, what? If that was happening, so my pops at 31 and me at 31, he not going band for band with me. You know what I'm saying? He can't see me, but he got a house though. And I tell you this, I'm never gonna have that. It's not going to happen.
I'm going to tell you guys right now, real estate comes and goes in cycles, and we've been at the peak for the last 3 years. To lose your patience right now and to give up would be shooting yourself in the foot. You don't want to give up right now. That is the worst, absolute worst thing you can do, because again, we have historical proof of this. It goes in cycles, and you don't want to give up right before home prices start to crash around the nation. What you want to be doing right now is just being comfortable with how you're living your life right now and be satisfied with what you have. Now, if you're like that man and you're struggling and trying to figure out what to do, remember, it's about credit, income, and assets. So you want to build your credit up by making sure you're not in overwhelming debt and you have very, very low credit balance is, because remember, credit cards have utilization ratio. Utilization ratio is very important at having a high FICO score, meaning you kind of need credit cards, but you don't use them, right? You only put a little tiny balance on them. I'm talking like $10, like buy a stick of gum and that's it, and then pay it off when it bills. You want to make sure you have great credit, and you want to save your money, and you want to make money. And I also want to tell you guys that FHA right now, that's 3.5% down, and conventional has Home Possible and Home Ready programs with 3% down. So you can still get a house for 3% down. The problem right now is not just the payments. The problem is also the price. And the other problem is so many people are confused about how home buying actually works. If you're confused about buying a house, don't buy a house. If you don't understand how a mortgage works, don't buy a house. Come to realestatemindset.org for free. It costs you no money, and learn how to buy a house. And not only learn how to buy a house, learn how the math works as well. If you take these courses, you will be ahead of so many more people. Now, let's listen to our second TikTok video about how math matters, because this woman in the last 4 years has been investing in real estate in Southern California and has only made in 4 years $15,000.
I'm going to be really controversial when I say this, and I'm talking to all of our parents out there. Buying a house does not make you successful. Don't worry, I did it by myself at 30, and so I'm going to walk you through why I would never can do it again. Specifically in California or LA, and I mean by myself. I signed those documents as a single woman, first and last name, because that's how they do it. If you have a partner that would split that with you, I think that's a completely different story. Again, bought my house by myself in LA. Let's go over the pricing. I bought a townhouse in LA, a 1-bedroom, 1.5 bathroom. It was $465,000. I bought it in 2021 because I thought that was going to be the cheapest thing possible. I had an interest rate of less than 3%. It was 2.99%. Things that I could not have factored in: HOA increasing. My HOA from month 1 went to $299, and then year 3 went to $486. The reason I'm talking about this is because my house is on the market. I am selling it for $535. Okay, so I'm going to minus broker's fees, improvements, escrow fees, title insurance, and corrective work or repairs. With that being all added up, my profit at the end of the day for 4 years is $15,206. I put 10% down. That's $46,000. Okay. If I would have taken that $46,000 and for the exact same time period, so don't be like, the market's not reliable. The exact same time period, February 2021 to June of 2024, I would have made a profit of $21,644. So the difference of that would be that I was up $5,000.
In other words, even investors right now have buyer's regret when it comes to homes, because even if they did do the math correctly at first, things have changed so much over the last 3 years that home ownership is not even the same thing. If you purchased a home in 2020 at a 3% interest rate at a price that was about $60,000-$70,000 lower than it is right now, guess what? You are now paying taxes and insurance on the equity that you didn't even want. You just wanted a roof over your head. Nevertheless, you're paying for that. And not only skyrocketing property taxes, homeowners insurance, but also, as you heard, HOA. And we haven't even talked about maintenance yet. Here's the good thing, guys. If you want the solution, if you want to understand how the math works, because we don't use our emotions, we got to use the math when it comes to buying a house. If we don't, we could be trapped in a house and we could go bankrupt and lose our house. I know that because that happened to me and it was awful, and I don't want it to happen to you. So come here to realestatemindset.org. I made this for you. Take this class that I'm circling, how to do a market analysis. I also made this free, brand new free form for you. It's a subdivision analysis form. This is going to walk you through how to do the math to know that you guys get a good deal. And I'm going to tell you again, the advice I would have for that lady that we just listened to is math matters. If you're calculating and working up home payments and expenses, always be conservative. Let's go into our third TikTok video from a young woman who just looked at her mortgage statement and was completely bamboozled because she didn't realize that almost all of her mortgage payments go towards interest and not paying down the actual loan.
Hey everyone, let's share our crash out moment of the day. So I bought a house in July of 2023 for $235,000. Okay, so painful. I know, so much, ridiculous, hate it. But I've been paying on it for almost 2 years now. So 22 months, okay? So I just did a little bit of math for how much I pay every month for times 22 months. I was like, oh my God, like I've paid like $47,000. Like, cool. So like 235 minus 47,000. Cool. Oh my God, that's pretty good, right? No, let me just show you. So I looked at my app to see how much I owe. I owe $226,000 after 22 months of paying, and I've paid like $47,000. But no, actually, I only paid $9,000. Isn't that so great how mortgages work and our life works? Everything's a scam. This is so scam. I don't know what to do. I can't believe that this is normal. This is literally normal. This is what we get to pay for. What am I even paying for? I didn't even put a dent in it after 22 months of paying $47,000. No, I only paid $9,000 actually, but they have $47,000 of my money, mind you, okay? I just can't. I can't.
You guys, that woman thought that her mortgage after 22 months of paying it was $188,000, not $227,000. She was absolutely bamboozled because she didn't understand how an amortization schedule works. If you don't understand how an amortization schedule or a mortgage works, then don't, I repeat, do not buy a house. So if she's saying that the original loan amount was $235,000, 30-year mortgage, 6% interest rate, you guys, to get her mortgage down to $188,000 or $185,000, that would take her 12 years, not 22 months, because again, look at the column with interest versus principal. The first year, $14,000 of your mortgage payment goes towards interest, while only $2,800 goes towards your principal. The reason that is amortization schedules or mortgages are front loaded with interest. You see it in year 30 where only $536, that's it. Less than $1,000 goes towards interest, but $16,000 goes towards principal. So in other words, it's really, really important that you guys pay additional payments. Okay, so you got to make extra payments. So let me show you what biweekly does. Now, first of all, biweekly is making only one extra mortgage payment per year. So let me show you that right now by going to optional payments. We're going to do one extra payment per year of $1,408. It saves you 5.5 years, making just one extra mortgage payment per year, 5.5 years. And not only that, okay, interest saved, $60,000 of your own money is saved. But let me show you what happens if you do 2 biweekly payments, which equals 2 extra mortgage payments per year. I'm going to change this right here to 2816, which is 2 mortgage payments per year. And let's calculate this. Look at this, guys. So if you do 2 per year, you turn your loan into a 20-year loan. Look at this. 20-year and 10 months. It depends on the mortgage rate, obviously. But not only that, you save nearly $100,000 in interest. So understanding how mortgage works before you become a homeowner is vital. But even if you didn't understand it before you became a homeowner, you can still understand it now. The most important thing to understand with the mortgages is refinancing is really, really bad, and paying extra money towards your principal is really, really good. We'll listen to one more TikTok video before going into the new home data from someone that is actively looking for a home, and she's being bamboozled by sales agents. So the moral of this story is, remember, realtors and even loan officers are just sales associates. They're not geniuses, you guys. They're not counselors. They're not economists. They're just people trying to sell you something.
I think that owning a home is like actually just kind of a big scam. Everyone always says that buying a house is the best thing you can do, but especially today where so many areas have overpriced houses and that's the only thing you can get, and mortgages are really high, interest rates are really high. I know historically they're low right now, but in relation to house prices, that's high, man. We own a home and it does not feel like we have equity or a good investment at all whatsoever. It feels like we're massively in debt. And I know everyone's situation is different. Some people have found being a homeowner a really good investment. It's paid off. They have a lot of equity, like things went really well for them, but that's just not always the case. And the narrative that we heard before buying a house is that it's always a good decision no matter what. It was during a time where everyone was talking about real estate investing, and it was just like touted as this amazing decision no matter what. Like the only goal is to be a homeowner. It's the best thing you can do. You should do it no matter what. Obviously that's not always true, but like when you're not a homeowner, I feel like that's all that you hear. And I feel like people get like tricked and scammed into buying houses that they shouldn't, and sold this idea that it's always going to pay off, and it doesn't always pay off. Sometimes it's just like a huge money sink, and it's not what's going to be best for you, and it ends up being a terrible decision. I think as a society, we are so trained to own homes that anything else seems crazy. Like I would so much after being a homeowner, I would so much rather rent. I would rather rent and invest for the rest of my life than ever own a home again. And people are going to come in these comments and tell me that that's a terrible idea and that I'm throwing away money as a renter and that rent is going to increase crazy and I could get kicked out anytime. But like, that's also not true. That's not true in our area. Rent has not really gone up over the past 4 years for where we want to live at all. I know because I've been looking at the leasing sites for 4 years. I obsessively look at apartment sites. I don't know why. I just do. I feel like we always hear renting is bad, homeowning is good, and there's like no flex in that. And it's just not true. Some people, renting is way better. And for some people, homeowning is better. And it's just crazy to me that buying a home is always the default best option.
It's really important to learn the things that she just warned you guys about before committing yourself into 30 years of debt. So learn from their mistakes, right? Just be patient right now. I mean, let the market cycle just work itself out. As consumers that want to purchase a home, it's important that we don't pass our responsibility on over to a sales agent. In other words, take the courses that I made for you, please, and enjoy this next segment where we're going to go into new home data, which remember you guys, new home data and new home market is completely different from the existing home market. New home market, they have been flooding the market with outrageous buying incentives for the last 3 years, and there's been no flood of buyers coming back into the market. Take a look. Monthly supply of new homes in the United States is well over 6 months. Remember, National Association of Realtors wants you to think that 6 months or more of supply is a buyer's market. But honestly, I'm going to tell you guys right now, it's more like 4 months, regardless with new homes, 8.1 months. And it's been that way for an awful long time. We have sustained over 6 months of inventory since February of 2022. So over 3 years. And that's why prices of new homes have been dented so heavily, because there's so much inventory. New privately owned housing units under construction. And we're only looking at single family homes. We're not looking at like apartments or condos or townhouses. Right now, under construction, we have 630,000 new homes. When we look at new privately owned housing units that are completed, that are done right now, look at how many we have for single family right now. You guys, we have, and I'm going to tell you right now, it's more than this. It's probably double the amount that you see right here, but it's saying right now we have 943,000 completed single family homes, the most that we've had, you guys, since 2008. So we have a near 2-decade high of inventory for single family homes that are brand new right now. As far as the incentives, when I go to Lennar and we look at what Lennar is offering in Houston, Texas, look at what they're offering. And this isn't even the best deal. I've been seeing deals like this for 3 years. I've saw deals where interest rates were under 1%. They were 0.99. But right now, today, as the recording of this video, Lennar is offering a 3.75 fixed rate. Okay, look at that. 3.75 FHA fixed rate, and there's no flood of buyers. They can't even hold the prices steady, and they're offering a rate that's 3% under market. It costs them about $30,000 to $40,000 to offer that to you guys. And they're not reporting it as an IPC or a seller concession as they are required to. And they're also required to report that they're not, which is receiving $6,000 towards your closing costs on top of a $50,000 price slash and a move-in ready appliance package that includes a washer and a dryer. Now, there's another thing I want to show you. This is a brand new home in Porter, okay? Now, I'm showing you guys this because I'm finally starting to see new homes, okay, that are being sold for under the value by far of existing homes. I've highlighted right here, you guys, because they can't sell this. Look at, they slashed this home almost $60,000. It is now being sold for $106.73 a square foot, which is about $20 under the price for existing homes. But here's the problem. The quality of construction is absolute trash.
Buy a house built in 2024, and I'm going to tell you why. Not only are you spending twice as much as you should on a house, that we're dealing with for materials is absolute junk. Yeah, sure, it looks great when you put siding on the outside and you can't see what the building materials are that you're dealing with. Of course it looks good. Called lipstick on a pig. Materials we get, if they ain't warped, they're full of knots, they're full of wormholes. Wormholes! Can you imagine buying a new piece of lumber and having termites already in your house? I don't think so. Brand new sheet of plywood. Brand new. Pressure treated plywood. Supposed to be the best stuff around, right? No. Look, it's all splitting already. But you know what? I'm going to nail that on your house, cover it with siding, and you're going to have to deal with it. Because that's what we got. We got no choice. What's the point of fixing it if my materials are crap? You know, what am I supposed to do? Good thing I have to cut that big part of the junk wood that's over there. I have to cut it all out because this is, you can understand the frustration that I've had and am having on a year-to-year, day-to-day basis. It's just ridiculous. Last thing I want to do is repair somebody's rot with rotten wood. It just doesn't make sense to me, you know? What are we doing?
Before you go out there purchasing a house and signing yourself up for 30 years of debt, just understand how the process works. Understand how to buy a house, what to look for, how does the math work, and how can you get yourself trapped in a mortgage. Now, remember, you guys, I had a foreclosure, very, very embarrassing, but I made mistakes as well in my youth, and you guys don't have to make those same mistakes. It took me 10 years of crawling out of the gutter to get where I'm at today because I rushed to the decision to purchase the biggest thing of my life, which was a house. I bought into mainstream media that I needed to buy a house to feel important. You guys, that's an absolute flat out lie. In fact, if you don't use the math to buy a house right now and you're using your emotions, all that you're really doing is increasing your odds of bankruptcy. Now, other than that, guys, I really hope you like this video. Comment below. Let me know what you learned if you're out there investing in real estate. You guys already know I wish you luck, and I hope you win.